Stockbridge is rightly proud of its main street, which was captured so beautifully in the painting by Norman Rockwell and is now in the Rockwell Museum, a testament to 10 years of observing the street, which really never changes. Stockbridge is also mentioned in the song Alice's Restaurant, which was such a hit during the 1960s. And then again, it lives forever in James Taylor's famous song, Sweet Baby James, when they mention the town of Stockbridge as the beginning of the turnpike, which ends in Boston. When he writes famously, the 1st of December was covered with snow, and so was the turnpike from Stockbridge to Boston. However, I am about to relate a tale about this famous main street and the time in which the Nazi flag was paraded down it. The only time in the history of the United States that the Nazi flag was used to represent the country of Germany. The event takes place on Memorial Day in 1936. Time magazine. In the green Berkshire Hills of Massachusetts nestle a knot of towns: Lenox, Lee, Stockbridge, Lee, Great Barrington, whose natives are hard-headed Yankees, whose summer colonists are sedate, aristocratic New Englanders and Manhattanites. Two of the swankiest, most comfortable hotels in the neighborhood are Heaton Hall and the Red Lion Inn at Stockbridge, both owned by Massachusetts' benign, broad-beamed Republican representative Allen Towner Treadway, manager of the Red Lion Inn, and also his Yale-educated son, Heaton Ives Treadway, who runs the winter hotels in Pinehurst, North Carolina, and Florida. In Florida last winter, Heaton Treadway met some members of Dr. Frank Nathan Daniel Buckman's Oxford groups, well aware of how those earnest evangelicals attract the upper classes. He was quick to suggest Stockbridge, Massachusetts, as the perfect setting for the Oxford group's first National Assembly. Now, the Oxford group had gained considerable influence in Europe by attracting the upper classes of Germany and also Heinrich Himmler. And Dr. Buckman was a guest of Mr. Himmler at the Olympics in 1936 and featured prominently in the propaganda films of that era in order to uplift the Third Reich. Now, pause. Among the Oxford group's most important adherents in the United States with the Firestones and their good friends, Henry Ford Jr. and his self-effacing wife, who just happened to take a private carriage into Stockbridge and attend most of the luncheons and lectures of the First National Assembly. Now, local Yankees were divided as to whether the Buckmanites practiced free love or were socialists. But by the time the 10-day assembly ended last week, the rest of the U.S. could gain an honest, unrestrained view of its zealous activities from its newsreels, wire services, and the Eastern press, which gave it publicity comparable to that which the Oxford group has received in Europe. Welcomed because an Oxford group tenet is to spread the message of God control as widely as possible. The publicity emphasized the adroitness, stageness of the assembly, the newsworthiness of the names identified with it, the singular nature of the testimony by which Oxford Group ideas were proffered to those who cared to listen. On Memorial Day, an airplane roared over New England, trailing a banner inscribed, "America Awake." The Oxford Group, Stockbridge. With the local post and the American Legion, the groupers paraded, held a meeting in front of the Stockbridge Town Hall. The leader of the parade, in a dirty, beatered leather jacket, was an Indian chief named Umpatas, billed as a Stockbridge or Mohican Indian who had ended up on a reservation in Wisconsin. He there turned to God and away from civilization and education, which he told the meeting didn't make an Indian or anybody else any better. Marchers in the parade carried the flags of the 48 states and 18 nations, including Germany's swastika, adverse comment on which was parried with the statement that thus does the Oxford Group bring nations together.